So you want to own a gym, find a building, fill it with treadmills, watch the memberships roll in. That's the plan in your head, and it's not a bad plan. Walk into any gym on a weekday evening, and it looks like the easiest business in the world. Every treadmill is taken, the front desk has a line, the parking lot is full, and you think this place must be printing money. Here's the problem. You are looking at the 1 hour of the day that lies to you the most. A gym is not actually a fitness business. It is a subscription business that happens to have dumbbells in it. And the moment you understand that difference, everything about how a gym quietly makes money and quietly loses money starts to make sense. Let's start with the price list, because just like every other asset we've broken down, this one comes in tiers, and the tier you pick is really a different business, wearing the same tracksuit. At the bottom sit the budget chains, charging $10 to $25 a month, stuffing a supermarket-sized building with 5,000 to 8,000 members and running it on a skeleton staff, making their money purely on volume. Above that sits the traditional commercial gym, $40 to $70 a month, a weight floor, some cardio, a class schedule. Above that, the luxury health clubs, $150 a month or more, selling you a lifestyle instead of a gym, complete with spa treatments and co-working lounges. Then the boutique studios, sometimes under 3,000 square feet, built around a single style of class. And finally, the brutal little category at the bottom of the food chain in terms of size, but the top in terms of margin per client. The one-on-one personal training studio, sometimes as small as 500 square feet, that doesn't sell memberships at all. It sells your time with a coach. Every one of these is really the same bet, framed differently. Do you make your money from a huge number of people paying a little, or a small number of people paying a lot? Now here's where the naive picture falls apart. You assume the expensive part is the equipment. It isn't. The expensive part is turning an empty box of a building into something that can legally and safely hold sweating human bodies for hours at a time. A commercial landlord will typically demand 3 to 6 months of rent up front, before you've touched a wall. Then comes the build-out, rubber flooring that can absorb a dropped barbell without cracking the concrete underneath, $10,000 to $40,000. Locker rooms and showers with proper drainage and moisture-resistant materials, another $10,000 to $50,000. Floor-to-ceiling mirrors alone can run $3,000 to $12,000 once installed. And then there's the cost almost nobody budgets correctly: air. Building codes require roughly 20 cubic feet of fresh air per minute for every person exercising in the room. Run that formula on a 5,000 square foot floor with 100 people on it at peak hour, and you need over 2,000 cubic feet of fresh air pumped in every single minute. Which isn't a fan, it's a full industrial HVAC upgrade costing $10,000 to $50,000 before you've sold a single membership. Stack the deposit, the build-out, the licenses, the insurance, the opening marketing push, and a cash reserve to survive the slow early months, and a modest mid-size commercial gym can require anywhere from $300,000 to over $1 million just to unlock the front door. Equipment is the next trap, and it's bigger than people expect. A single commercial treadmill costs $2,000 to $8,000, and you need 6 to 12 of them just for a baseline cardio section. Strength machines run $1,000 to $5,000 each, and a real floor needs 12 to 20 of them. Add power racks, dumbbells, benches, and the equipment bill for a mid-sized gym alone can land anywhere between $40,000 and $250,000. This is where the first real decision trips people up. Buy the equipment outright, or lease it. Buying feels safer, it's an asset, no monthly bill hanging over your head, but it drains the exact cash reserves you need most in those uncertain early months. And daily commercial use wears a machine down far faster than any home gym ever would. Leasing keeps your cash free and lets you upgrade every few years so nothing looks dated, but lease financing typically carries around 8% interest a year, meaning you end up paying meaningfully more than the equipment was worth. And the lease doesn't care whether your gym is thriving or empty. If membership dries up and you close the doors, the payments don't stop with you. Then there's location. And this is where most first-time owners get it wrong, because they think a good location just means a lot of people nearby. It's far more specific than that. Roughly 80% of a gym's membership base comes from within a 10 to 15-minute drive or transit ride of the building. That is your entire addressable market, not the city, not the metro area, a 10-minute radius, and the income level inside that radius has to match your pricing exactly. A luxury club charging $150 a month simply cannot survive in a neighborhood built around a budget income base, no matter how nice the equipment looks, and a high-visibility storefront in a major city can run $25 to $120 per square foot in annual rent, compared to $12 to $20 in a rural strip. Get that math wrong, and you've locked yourself into a rent bill your own neighborhood can never supply enough members to cover. Now we arrive at the part of this business that actually explains everything else, the membership itself. Picture every person who signs up falling into one of two futures. In one, they show up 3 times a week for a year. In the other, they show up twice in January, feel good about themselves, and never come back, while still paying every single month. Which of those two is more valuable to the gym? The second one, and this is the single most important fact in the entire industry. The person who shows up constantly uses hot water, wears down the treadmill belt, needs towels laundered, and takes up floor space during the exact hour the gym is most crowded. Every visit costs the gym real money and real capacity. The person who vanished after January costs the gym almost nothing, while their payment keeps arriving like clockwork, flowing straight to the bottom line. Industry data consistently shows that around 2 out of every 3 gym members rarely or never use the facility they're paying for. That is not an accident. That is the business model. A gym with 6,000 members could never physically fit even a fifth of them on the floor at once without violating fire code. So the entire building only has to be sized for the fraction that actually shows up, not the total number who pay. The forgotten membership sitting untouched on someone's bank statement is quietly one of the most profitable customers a gym will ever have. This creates a seasonal wrinkle worth understanding, because roughly 12% of all annual gym signups happen in the single month of January, driven by New Year's resolutions. And gyms lean into it hard, with discounted joining fees and a burst of concentrated advertising. That wave that comes in fast goes out almost as fast. About half of new members stop attending within 6 months. And of the January resolution crowd specifically, up to 80% have quit showing up by summer. Experienced owners plan their entire cash flow around this cycle, banking the January surge to carry them through the quieter months. The owners who get burned are the ones who spend that windfall as if it were a permanent baseline instead of a seasonal spike. Layered on top of this is the franchise question. Buy into an established brand with a proven layout and corporate purchasing deals, paying an upfront fee of $20,000 to $60,000, plus an ongoing royalty of 5 to 10% of gross revenue, and another 2% into a shared marketing fund. Or go independent and keep every dollar the business generates, while building the brand recognition yourself from zero. Underneath all of this sits the psychology, and it matters just as much as the spreadsheet. People keep paying for something they don't use, partly out of optimism at the moment of signing, partly because the payment is meant to function as a commitment device, and partly out of pure inertia, since canceling means admitting the plan didn't work, and for $10 to $30 a month, most people would rather quietly keep paying than confront that. Gyms reinforce this without members ever noticing. Clean layouts reduce intimidation for new members long enough for a habit to either form or quietly fade. Harder, more directional lighting in the weight room highlights muscle definition, while recovery areas get softer light to feel calmer. Even music tempo is chosen deliberately, since faster music has been shown to help people push through a workout with less perceived effort. None of it is decoration. All of it is aimed at keeping a member emotionally attached whether or not they ever come back. Which is exactly why leaving a gym is never as easy as joining one. Many contracts require cancellation in writing, sometimes only in person or via certified mail, with 30 to 60 days of advance notice guaranteeing at least one more month of dues even after you've decided to leave. Regulators have noticed. The Federal Trade Commission tried to force a national click-to-cancel rule in 2024. A federal appeals court struck it down on procedural grounds in 2025, and cities like New York have since introduced their own local rules with penalties over $500 per violation. If a gym's survival depended on happy, frequently attending members, it wouldn't need to make leaving this hard. There's a smaller hidden cost that catches almost every first-time owner off guard too, and it has nothing to do with treadmills. Playing background music in a commercial space legally requires public performance licenses from multiple performing rights organizations simultaneously, running a combined $1,000 to $4,000 a year, and skipping it risks statutory copyright damages that can run from a few $100s per song into the tens of thousands if a court decides the infringement was willful. It's a small example pointing at the larger lesson of this entire business. Almost none of the real costs live on the equipment catalog. They live buried in a lease clause, a licensing agreement, or a repair contract nobody reads until something breaks. And plenty does break, with mid-sized gyms typically budgeting $1,000 to $3,000 a month just for equipment repair, and utility bills for constant ventilation, lighting, and hot water running another $1,000 to $6,000 a month. Even at enormous scale, this model can collapse. One of America's largest health club chains at its peak built its empire on aggressive long-term membership contracts financed like car loans, locking in years of guaranteed payments on paper. It still filed for bankruptcy twice, within a single year, not because people stopped wanting to work out, but because the structure of debt and contractual promises finally gave way under consumer protection lawsuits and its own financial pressure. A similar story played out with one of the country's largest gym chains, which collapsed not from an empty parking lot, but from too much debt relative to actual cash flow. The lesson is structural. A gym full of members and full parking lots can still be one bad debt structure away from insolvency, because the crowd on the floor tells you nothing about what's holding up the balance sheet underneath it. Time to pull it all together and answer the actual question: how much money do you make if you do this right? In the optimistic scenario, you've picked the right neighborhood, hit your break-even membership count on schedule, kept churn on the low end of normal, and built a strong personal training program alongside your base, where a single trainer running semi-private sessions can double their hourly revenue compared to one-on-one work even after the gym takes its 30 to 50% commission. Under those conditions, a mid-size independent gym generates $500,000 to $1.5 million a year, with a net margin of 10 to 20%, putting $70,000 to $180,000 a year in the owner's pocket. In the realistic scenario, churn runs at the high end of normal. A cheaper chain opens 2 miles away and pulls your price-sensitive members, and equipment starts needing more frequent repairs than expected. That same gym can slide from a comfortable double-digit margin into a single-digit margin or an outright loss during a slow season, a swing of well over $100,000 in a single year, with no fire, no scandal, no dramatic event, just a slightly higher cancellation rate and a slightly heavier repair bill, compounding quietly month after month. So if you do decide to open a gym, remember the one thing that actually determines whether you survive. It was never about how many people you can get to sign up. It's about how well you can survive on the people who stop showing up.